Hi, good evening.
Hi, evening, everyone.
This is our first time a
Uh,
combo like this.
I think it's our first time,
Okay.
man to man.
Yeah, I have Jolston Ng as my special guest. So he'll be talking a bit about energy, vibration, which is also interestingly, we were chatting before as we were trying out and testing out the technicalities about how, everything is in its time, right? Everything, there is a certain synchronicity to it. So it's very interesting what he will be sharing with us. And then also, I am also very excited about working with personal vibration. Because if you ask me many years ago, right, if somebody is talking to me about this particular concept, I just don't fully embody it. Right? Because it sounds so vague, isn't it? Everything is vibration, everything is energy, all energy is vibration. And honestly, if you ask me many years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I wouldn't be able to strongly relate to it, even though I started my journey in Chinese metaphysics many years ago with Pazi, Feng Shui, and the whole works, all of those studies, right?
Yeah.
And I have been a big fan, practitioner, and now, of course, professional in these fields for many years. But if you just relate it in the concept of vibration, I don't really get it. But I feel like right now I do. So I don't know how it is about your case, lah.
The thing is also is like everything is like just fall into place. Like you were just telling me also in terms of the month, like how August transit to September and how we want to start working on different aspects, right? And somehow or rather, I have a lineup of different activities or workshops that come fall into place about energy, is about action work also. So it's like everything just fall into places, just like that.
Yeah, so everything in its time, right? And this is such a powerful period. This is such a powerful year overall. I keep talking about this. I keep lecturing all my clients as well. Make full use of this wood dragon year because time passes so fast. Also, our schedule is super busy, and then of course we know even from the end of last year we are self-punishing ourselves with our schedule, but all for a good cause and all is good. But this year is so fast moving that
Time does fly,
right?
right? Now is
Exactly.
last quarter, almost last quarter
Almost.
of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then soon we'll be singing Christmas carols, and then it will be 2025, right? So, and I just want to urge everybody to really make full use of the powerful energy of the year of the wood dragon. And every month that I analyze, including this particular month, and I see how much depth there is to this non-linear year, how much power there is in the wood dragon, which kicks off period 9 all the time, right? Every time there's a period 9, the year that will kick it off is actually the wood dragon year, right? So today we'll be continuing on it. So before we continue, speaking of continuing, right, if you've just joined us, please help us share out this feed on your timeline. That would be much appreciated. We are simulcast on all our main pages. So we will be checking in with comments on all the pages, from Joston's page to my page, Jesse's page, and also the ST page. So no matter which platform you're watching this, if you can share this, if you think the information like this benefits the people on your timeline, that will be very much appreciated. And for tonight, of course, I will also urge you to, if you can, keep it tuned, right? Not only for the forecast, because it's going to be very exciting. It's going to be very clear. It's going to have a lot of clarity to it, what we can do with the energies of the water rooster, but also because we'll be shifting gears and talking about energy elevation towards the later part, right, of the session today.
Correct.
Right, so share away. And LNS, they say like and share, right? Right? So without any further ado, if you have any...
Yeah, I think I guess that the right time now for you to pass the time to you first.
Okay.
Let you do your usual sharing first, then I'll join you back later.
Can.
All right, I'll see you later.
Sounds good.
See you guys later.
Okay, so make sure to stay tuned the whole session today. This is supposed to be the last page. Okay, how do I get back to the first? Okay, all right, it's okay. And then after that, we will bring Joston back. We will collectively talk about energy elevation. So we have some interesting things to share about that, some key reminders as well. And it will be a natural progression from the energies of this month, okay? So today my camera angle is slightly different, so I will just have to adapt and flow like water. That's fine, yeah? So let's get into the outlook for the Water Rooster month. Now, in the Water Rooster month, you can see from here, it's the middle, it's the peak of the autumn season. Again, if you're new to metaphysics, you might have a question as to when is an element actually the most vibrant, and is it the same, for example, if you are listening in from the southern hemisphere. Now, my personal opinion, of course, is that it is autumn in the energy wise of, that means the core energy is metal, right? And also we can see it in a different form, which is air energy. If you know it from other forms of metaphysical studies, right? Western astrology, for example, Vedic astrology, there is this air element, right? And I believe that air is equivalent to metal. It's just that when we look at it from either the metal perspective or the air perspective, even though they can be equivalent, they each will give us additional information of the energy and how to use it. So what I do is I combine both together. And I find that when I started to study this and research this, and also be able to apply it and then share it in my workshops and so on, it has become very, very useful. Right? So I urge you, if you're coming from a Chinese metaphysics background, which the majority of you are, and I know that there are also people here which also do both forms of astrology, and there might be some of you who actually do all three major forms of astrology, including Vedic astrology, right? So when we can expand and combine together this metal element from the Chinese metaphysics perspective with the air energy from either Vedic or Western astrology, I think that is actually very, very powerful to combine both. Yeah. So that's why it is relevant for autumn. And now we are in the middle part of the autumn season. It is the Kuei Yo, the Kuei water over the Rooster pillar for the entire month. And it is a very beautiful pillar because it's got a lot of clarity to it, right? It is basically metal water clarity, right? Those of you who study the classics or have heard of it from Pachi studies will be able to relate to this concept. So it is like a polished mirror because you have a very pure, beautiful metal, sin metal, yin metal, that is of course the underneath, and then on top you have this nice glaze, right? So really it's like a polished mirror, which means what? The core strength of the month, right? The core strength of the pillar itself is actually reflection, right? And the clarity that is enabled by reflection. So when you look at it as a pillar, right? So we also see the energy of the month itself. That means if we are able to be honest, if we're able to be very much anchored to our heart, for example, not be swayed by the ego, not be emotionally turbulent, if we are calm and still enough, right? Then when we look into this, we can actually see a clear reflection, which means that it is a good month to do exactly that, which is basically reflect on how things are, and we'll be able to see a mirror image back, which means that we can see the month, we can see the energy of how we have come to what we have come to for the beginning of the wood dragon year, starting in February, right, all the way up to where we are now. And I will also add on the layers, and you will see that it is a very powerful month for us to assess and then evaluate, and then from there, of course, move on and do the adjustments and fine-tuning, which is a major theme of the month itself. Yeah. So the rooster itself, of course, is the main energy point of the autumn season, as I've already said, right? And the other characteristics of the rooster animal sign. So it is, of course, a peach blossom star, right, containing pure chi of sin metal, and at the same time, also it is the strongest element of metal, right? And the animal sign that represents metal energy at its peak, and hence at its purest as well. Yeah. So it's a very much a yin metal quality to it. Of course, the beautiful thing is that it's got a beautiful Kuei water that's on top that serves as a reflection. And just the yo itself, the rooster itself, this is where if we are cognizant of its pros and cons of the positive qualities, and then also on the not so positive qualities, then we are able to then be in control and have the awareness of how we can use its energy, because everything will have its yin and yang, which means that everything will have its so-called positive quality and also negative. Then negative qualities, right, of yo, or the sin metal, that is the pure chi, 100% sin metal inside the yo, inside the rooster now. That, of course, if you are a student, for example, if you're not that new in the world of Chinese metaphysics, Pachi, and astrology, then you know that it is always associated with perfection. It is always associated with a certain standard, right? Because it's very perfect on its own. The imagery, of course, is diamond at its highest level, right? So there itself lies the pitfalls of, for example, the ego, right? The ego at its worst, right? It is also usually contained in the sin metal energy. The highest expectations, regardless of whether it's our own self, and it is also projected outwards. Because whatever perfectionistic qualities that we tend to have, which is largely or can be largely caused by sin metal, a lot of times it is a projection of our own insecurity, of the lack of perfection that we put on ourselves, that we then extend the energy outwards, and then it becomes like a judgment, for example. It becomes like an ego, for example, because we're unable to accept the less beautiful qualities of ourselves. So that's why with Jessie's teachings, for example, she always talks about the tag, the key word, right, of the rooster, and that one is beauty. That means be able to accept beauty in all its forms, right, and not having a certain set expectation. So that is where we can be very mindful in terms of the rooster or the yo or the sin metal energy. Then, of course, on the positive side, this is actually a couple of things. One, of course, again, the energy of assessment, the energy of evaluation. These are all powered by the rooster or yo or the sin metal energy. And then with this as well as assessment, be able to calculate, be able to think, right? Because it's also representing air or mind energy. And then importantly, what I'll be talking about today and focusing on, right, is the yo, or to be more exact, the sin metal in yo, right, as essence, right? It is the essence which is the end result, the condensation from distillation of whatever that's taken place, right? So this is beyond just something that's manifested. Because we talk about something that's manifested, it is usually, to me, in earth, the earth element, because earth is physical reality. Earth is what we are able to sense with the five senses, right? So the physical reality doesn't have to be just touch or sight. We can see the hand, right? We can see something even though we cannot touch it, right? Or anything that's perceived by the five senses, right? That is usually what is earth element to me, right? So when we want to talk about what happens, how do we obliterate earth, then of course there are a couple of ways, right? One, of course, we combust it with fire, which is the transformative process. But the more natural cycle, of course, of the five element is from earth, then we extract metal. What we do is we extract out the essence, right? We take out the most valuable part of it, right? We also harness the results, the final end result. And then also another perspective is that we reap the karma that's sown from every action that we actually exude out of our physical self, right? So the metal is this, especially sin metal, right? Because that's also yang metal, which is keng, right? So sin metal is the essence that's extracted. And what is actually essence for? If you think about essential oils, for example, right? Or you think about essence in the form that is studied in traditional Chinese medicine as well, right? Essence that is originally in our body, and then of course it is either depleted or it is grown, right? Or added on by personal cultivation, added on by our sustenance, the food that we eat, right? And the qi that we take in and so on, right? So that will also contribute back to the Tsing, right? The essence that's in our body. So it's the same element and it's the same imagery that we have, especially for the month of September. And September 2024, to be specific, the Kuei-Yo pillar itself, right, has that very strong quality of it. So whenever we expand this from the idea of sin metal being a reflective surface. What it does is that it will attract, right, the condensation from the air. So Kuei water is attracted to sin metal. So that's why the imagery also, right, shapes up as attracting ideas. So imagine you have a certain concept, for example, a certain learning, a certain karma, a certain sort of like the coagulated the learning lesson, the concept, for example, because everything starts from the idea, right? So this is the stage where with that mental energy, the metal energy, the air energy, right, we're able to attract in water. So attracting ideas, for example, developing ideas, brainstorming. So all these are activities that is very, very much suitable. And then because water as an element to me represents cosmic intelligence, right? The way the world knows how things work is basically the element of water as well, regardless of whether it's our physical water in the realm of Earth or it is the water that is in outer space or in different planets, right? So that's why there is a ability for us to use our mental energy, our mental faculties, the clarity of our thoughts, because these are all air or metal energy, right, at its purest, and then be able to start the manifestation cycle by attracting in ideas. Because it starts with that first. And then after that, of course, an idea grows. Like a project, it starts to develop and grow, right? Like wood growing like a plant. And then after that, it will, of course, ripen when it comes to putting fire energy to it and then transforming to the result. So that's actually the full cycle of manifestation. If you've been following my workshops and whenever I have an opportunity to teach about that, right? So that's how it is. So where are we at this particular point? We are actually at the pre-manifestation stage, coming from a very volatile, changeable, major movement August, right? Because the water was really, really strong and very much strong compared to the timing of the year because of the stacking up of the year of the dragon with the month of the monkey of August itself, yeah? So just to finish off here, right? So Kuei Yo as a pillar, September itself, right? It is very much powerful as long as we work it as a progression from August. So that's the only thing I need to give you as a background. You have to follow through from August, then only you are able to make full use of September, right? In which purpose, in which way, in which area as well? In initiating manifestation, right? And initiating manifestation that is not going back from to the drawing board right from the beginning. It is basically to do this as an adjustment or fine-tuning of whatever plans that you've already put in place right prior to period 9 or right prior to 2024, and also whatever that has been transpiring ever since this year itself, especially in the early 4 or 5 months or so. So that's very important, right? So this phase, of course, again, if we are in tune, the mental clarity is there, and the mental energy is also very heightened, right? And it will be a theme for us, just jumping ahead, right, to share with you as well. When we go into the snake year is going to give us the opportunity for us to adjust again, right? Based on the adjustment that we do and initiate in September itself. So there's a connection there, right? Because of the rooster and the snake. And the next year, of course, it is going to be the snake year itself. So the month of September gives us hopefully the mental clarity to do it. And then also what I see as the ability for us to precede manifestation, right? And the seed of the energy that we exude, right? Of course, the main chakra of it is actually the throat chakra, right? So the easiest way to think about this is the energy of the vocalization, the energy of the voice. What we give voice to will eventually result, because this is not only the initial seed of manifestation and the energy that we exude from ourselves, but it's also, right, the important representation for us in terms of how we actually start an energy form, right? And it's beyond just the voice, but of course the voice would be the most easiest to relate to. So that's why recently also, if you've been following us in terms of our the group that is going to Nepal, for example, if you're part of the Soul's Journey in Nepal, if you've been following my work, if you've been following my workshops, the monthly updates that I do here, you see that I'm talking about this more and more. I am my own self embodying the power of vocalization much, much more than I've ever been, right? And prior to this, of course, I was a radio DJ for 10 years. And then before that, I was a singer wannabe for many years of my early 20s, for example, right? And so on and so forth. So it's always been a part of me. And I've always been a speaker, a presenter, host, MC, and so on and so forth. But I've never had my head screwed on correctly, right, as to how I would use it until now. Until this past 2 years where you see this progression, right? And we'll talk about this more also with Josen at the end of the presentation, about how the timing is here for us to really embody energy. because it's period 9, right? And if we want to be able to tap into all the open portals, right? If we want to be able to fast track the astrology, because we can do that. That's the beauty of this period. We've always been able to do it, but it's not so easy because, again, the reality that we face, for example, the technology that we don't have yet developed 20 years ago, for example. So we do not have that direct access. But now with the portals open and with the world that is up to speed, we only need to get our physical and subtle body up to speed to catch the vibration. If not, it will always have a time gap, even though the opportunity can be instantaneous in terms of all these things you've heard, right? Jumping timelines and so on and so forth. Yeah. So it's very exciting. And this particular point in time gives us the opportunity to begin that journey. That's why it's very important for us to take it in our own hands, or at least try to control it as much as we want to the result that we want to get, as opposed to let it just go and randomly create for us, right? So we want to be in the driver's seat. And this also gives me the clarity of the connection between the crown chakra, the third eye, and also the throat chakra, the three highest chakra, which is the connectivity chakras, right? It's the manifestation chakras, the releasing energy and receiving energy chakras that we have. So that's why it's very, very beautiful, right? The opportunities that we have in September, yeah? So remember, whatever it is, put it back into the context of the year, because the year is still the most dominant energy that we have, right? And the wood dragon year is the kicker and the start and the foundation year of the period 9, and it always is. It will always start period 9, and it will start other period 3 and 6 as well, right? But period 9, yes, it's one of the junctures where it will always begin with this. And as the months have unfolded, you see how important this year is. And it is not a year that you just sit back and just flow without doing the inner work. It's not a year that you just sit back and progress and schedule your life in a typical year, right? January, you do this, February, you do that. When it comes to summer, you go on holiday, right? For many people out in the Western world. And then after that, autumn, you go back to work. And then after that, you bond with the family in winter and all that, which is part of the cultures all around the world, yes. But this year is beyond that, right? If you've been following the monthly forecast, you know that it is a very, very powerful, interesting year, yeah? But what is important here is that the dragon is the Tai Shui, and then the Jia Wood is the theme. And it's the first, of course, of the 10 heavenly stems, which means that the growth of the period that's upcoming, especially for the next 10 years, which is the growing phase of period 9, right? The waxing phase of period 9, we start with the growth of Jia, which is the first of the heavenly stems. So what and how does the energy go back to this? How does it go back to Jia? So that's always the key as we progress through the month. So in this case, we come from, if you missed this technical forecast for August, I urge you to revisit it, because it's very important that you understand September in the context of August. So just scroll back down the timeline, you will see the August monthly forecast, Renshen, very deep, very powerful. It's all about the shakeup of whatever that is there, the instability of earth energy being dissolved and diluted by water, which means what? Shakeups. Right? If you look at it from the Western astrology perspective, also from planet Uranus, which is the planet of shakeup, right? Cracking through the stability of Earth in the sign of Taurus. So same concept there, right? That's the same thing that we can analyze from Chinese astrology, right? So with that shakeup, it is of course resulting in instability overall, right? Then you see like water washing Earth, for example, strong rains. Another hot topic was sinkholes, right? Popping up. Even though it may just be because there's more focus towards that with the month of August. So now with that shakeup, breakups, and so on, that is of course a lot of movement and instability and change. So now then we come to September, and we get the same loop, right? Of basically you have the energy of what we call wealth and influence. Now, if you understand this, great, right? If you know some parts, you know some 5 elements, and you know the 10 gods, that's great. If not, then okay, you can just skip this part. But what does it say? That metal energy and also earth energy is the wealth of the year, right? Because the year's theme is Jia Wood. So Jia Wood controls earth, so earth is the wealth energy, and then earth becoming metal, right? Because we have the dragon year combining with the rooster month, and this is the result combination. the metal producing combination. I call it as the result or the karmic combination, right, between these two animal signs. Very powerful here, and it's also a cycle. I'll come to that in the next slide. So here we have the dragon and rooster combining. Of course, it's a metal combination, which means the extract of the dragon is converted to the end result. So it means a couple of things. One is that we get the one point in time right now of the year is that it will show you certain results. This year, much so than any other year at this point in time with the rooster month. Then at the same time, we have earth converting to metal, and then metal will also support water. Now, the water, of course, actually was produced last month already in combination between the month and also the year, but it's okay. Now it surfaces as Kueh water on top as the reflecting quality of the metal, right? The Kueh water, the yin water. So we have the cycle of earth then combining to produce metal, and then metal producing water, water producing back beautifully the wood. So there is a support of resources to the year. So back to the year, right? Whatever thing that you've been doing, whatever that you've been trying to do, right? Of course, if you are fully independent, you will have more of a free hand. If you are less independent, if you are employed, for example, you're bound by the company, you're bound by the boss, then you have less of a free hand. You will see less of this magic going on. But if you have adequate freedom, then you will see this. It may not be in work and career, but maybe in your personal development of your life, right? You see this chain that is giving you a feedback loop, right? Whatever that you started the year with, right? Now when it comes to this point of year, it will show you, it will reflect back to you the results. Where are you going? Where are you heading? And then at the same time, it is again able to draw in, again, mental power, drawing in ideas, drawing in even something like cosmic intelligence, so that then it gives you a support to the growth that is supposed to be the theme of the year. Right? So that's a very powerful reflection of the year, how it's going, and so on and so forth, that you can use as the energy for September. Right? But if you are not aware of this, if you don't use it wisely, then you'll be wasting it. Right? Because it's like, right? Why are you asking me to look at results now? But actually, every autumn is a result evaluative period in time already. Yeah. So, but this year it is especially strong. So I urge you to look at it from these particular perspectives. Okay. So now we want to talk about. Speaking of voice, so now I'm hearing my own voice here. Okay. Right. So now I want to talk about this additional layer of information. Real quick, I want to share with you as well, right? So every 6 months, you see 2 cycles that's going on, right? So this cycle that is about to come to a closure, right? A loop here is a 6-month cycle that starts from the month of the dragon, and then it will end in the month of the rooster. So in April, of course, it was the Wu Chen month, which is Earth Dragon. Okay, and then now 6 months later, it sees its counterpart for both the heavenly sign and also the animal sign, right? Combining heaven and earth, so you get a closure to it. So what does this mean, right? In simpler terms or in layman's terms, you see a 6-month cycle that is closing, right? That started in April, that's one, right? And again, dragon rooster is a very karmic combination. You can say that. So you can talk about karma as in action producing a particular reaction or a result at the end of the cycle. So in this case, it's a 6-month cycle, but if you look at it from the annual cycle, of course, it talks about the 6-year cycle also, which there is a connection to the dragon, because this whole entire year is a dragon, right? But dragon month itself has the same similar cycle. Then we talk about it from a shorter term perspective. You see this coming, right? There is a loop ended, and what does it mean? So of course, one is results. Everything that's stacked up, especially from around April thereabouts, right, is going to have outcome, results, the karma that is now unfolding, or rather, you will see more of it in a week's time, right, throughout the month of the rooster itself. So it will give us a snapshot of period 9 so far, because period 9 has just started this year, right? So whatever they have carried with you, first the dragon, the wood dragon, basically comes in and tells you, okay, now you have to grow the next 10 years, right, for the first 10 years of period 9. And then the dragon will tell you, look, if you came in with this means right prior to the year of the dragon, it means end of last year, okay? Now, what will you get out of this? So that's why when we have this this come back to us and shown to us in, for example, the month of September, then we have that ability to adjust, switch course, steer, be more in control, be more empowered, etc., etc. So that then we can adjust it to the way that we prefer, right? Compared to the results that we have seen, for example. And of course, those of us who are already on the right path, doing the right thing, then you will see positive results. So that's a simple way of looking into it, yeah? And then what does the Wu Kui? Because Wu Earth, Yang Earth also combines with the Yin Water, right? And this is actually a combination that produces fire. So if you're not used to party, and even if you're a student of party, right? So sometimes it's like, wow, this combination, why so strange, care? You have earth and then you have water. Then suddenly it's gone, and then it burns. How does that work, right? Well, the thing is, it's all about, of course, and one layer of it is imagery, the images, okay? That's the energy of Wu and Kui. But on another level is the transmutation, the obliteration of blockages, because Yang Earth is Earth, and Earth is always, it can be a fixed concept, something that is tangible, sensed by the five senses, but usually it represents a blockage or an attachment of some sort. So again, it gives us the opportunity, but of course, because fire is generally weak this year, and the water is super strong last month and this month, so it's easier said than done. So if we are not using this energy properly, we are not able to obliterate attachments and remove blockages. So this requires us to be very in control, cognizant, aware, so that we can see things as attachments and blockages in order for us to destroy and disrupt it and to remove it in the first place, right? But the astrology tells us that the cycle of what's happened between April to now, or to next month rather, gives us the opportunity to transmute and to destroy. Yeah. So yeah, welcome Sunita. Hi to Felicia there. And the reason why I clicked to this is because I wanted to read the comments. Right. Hi Mindy, and also hi to Mabel. Okay, and hi to Jennifer Jayas as well. Speaking of hellos and highs, right? So that's why it's very, very powerful. The whole entire year, and at various, in fact, many months of the year, but this is again another very important part that we have gotten to. Remember, right? Try to understand September in the context of August, because the information is much more, priceless and valuable if you understand how to work September based on what happened in August. Now, if we look at Western astrology, of course, generally, whatever the astrology method will tell you roughly the same things, and each will have its own additional here and there, right? And so on. So the way I use it, I look at it from the planetary meanings, which again is correlated to each of the animal signs, each of the elements for sure. So that's one layer of understanding. And then secondly, what planet moving to what position also gives us a bit more information as to timing, right? So we see a couple of things going on here that is very important. Uranus in Taurus is all about the energy of elevation due to sudden changes. That means breakthroughs and so on and so forth. So it is unsteady energy. In a mundane day-to-day basis, it can relate to earthquakes, earth instability and things like that. On a personal energy level, it is about aha moments and breakthroughs. And then because it is in the sign of Taurus, which is a theme, right, for the current, and it will be so until the next year or so, right? So we have that energy of shakeups in a place of usual 3D reality, right? How we perceive the world and so on with our five senses. So that's why it is breaking that up. It has been doing that for some time now, I think about 1.5 years or 2 years. So now it is, of course, retrograding after months of going forward, which means that the energy now is less intense. So the shakeups would have taken place in the past, and then now it is settling because it's moving to retrograde ever since September 1st, a few days ago, right? And then at the same time now, the second one is very important. Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. Pluto moving to Aquarius, the sign after Capricorn is period night. Pluto moving backwards retrograding, right, in Aquarius means it is revisiting it. So it's been doing that for a couple of months now. And now it's going to go back into its previous sign, which means it is fixing leftover stuff. Again, if you look at it from the party, you will also be able to see it. But here you're able to see it in another perspective, right? It is fixing leftover stuff. And Capricorn is all about our obligations, long-term commitments. What do we really stand for in the long term? So of course, it's tied into values, which is Taurus. A lot of Taurus energy there, right? So now because it's going back to the Capricorn, imagine period 9 has started, and then after that, it slows down. That's what the dragon year makes us do, right? It's like, yo, no one ever expected this, but when we came to the year of the dragon, and now the months are unfolding suddenly, this is a new learning also for me lah. So then I've been sharing it. Everybody's so excited, yay, period 9's here, dragon is here, and then suddenly it's like, oh, now we have to look deep, now we have to slow down, adjust and shift, but yeah, right? So another how many years from now, then history won't I mean, history will repeat, but probably we won't be here lah. That's the thing, okay? But yes, okay, so period 9 started, then after that it slows down, and then now it goes to period 8. You can kind of see it that way a little bit, right? For 2 months or so. So what is it saying? Go back and fix the final bits of these long-term commitments and responsibilities that have now probably been shaken up if you follow the flow of the energy of the world, especially if you're in tune with astrology, Chinese metaphysics, and so on and so forth. Now adjust those little bits that still need to be adjusted. That's what the energy is about, okay? And because why? Once it starts to go forward, and then after that it goes nicely back to Aquarius by the end of the year, it will not go back to Capricorn for another 180 years. So we won't have this energy anymore, right, after we clear it. And then what else do we see as the top layer, the most obvious layer, which is basically from the planets which have the small orbits, right? Mercury, Mars, and also Venus. That's why they call it personal planets, right? So the masculine principle, right, anchored by planet Mars, is going to Cancer, which is the softest or one of the softest signs, Western astrology signs, which means the aggression of the masculine energy is now going to be softened. So that's why there's a softness to it, and then importantly, there is a flow to things, right? So that is the surface layer of the energy that will give us, right, less aggression and more flow, right, overall. And then the other third layer is, of course, clarity, because we have Mercury, which is all about thought, connections, and linkages, right? The planet with the smallest orbit. So this is going to be in signs which support it, right? Currently in Virgo, or rather it will move to Virgo in a few days. It is still in Leo, right? But mostly in the Kuei-Yo September month, starting on September 7th, right? I have not mentioned it yet. September 7th will be the first day of the Metal Rooster, Water Rooster month, right? Now it is still in Leo, but when it starts and then a couple of days after that, it will go into Virgo, which is all about routine, day-to-day, short-term things and all that. And then after that, from the 26th of September, it will connect to Libra, and Libra, again, it is the seasonal energy as well, right? Which is basically, you can say, the rooster energy, okay? So then it will peg to that. So communication, day-to-day linkages, and linkages, of course, when you think about linkages, the one that gels things together is water element, right? That's why water element is heightened overall in autumn, and then especially when it's obvious like that in the rooster month like this year, 2024. So again, it emphasizes the same clarity of metal producing water. And then Venus, which is air energy, heart energy, and so on, is going to be in Libra, which is going to be the seasonal energy as well from the second half of the rooster month. And then it again anchors down all of this energy. And besides anchoring down, it is also emphasizing the purity, right? So that's just come to me, and I'm sharing that with you, yeah? So there's so many signs that indicate the purity that can give us the clarity that we want, as long as we are clear ourselves, okay? So that's very important to progress for the rest of the month. And then anchoring all of this down is again the second of 4 super moons, super full moons that is, that started with the one in August, and then we'll have another one now coming up in September, which then is also the first eclipse. Again, an eclipse is basically where the sun and moon are aligned, right? Either opposite planet Earth or together, as in the solar eclipse or the new moon. And then, of course, the lunar eclipse is with the opposite position of the sun and moon. And then we have the first eclipse that's going to come up. And then after that, the October eclipse, the solar eclipse, is going to be very powerful. So this is going to be the counterpart. First, a lunar eclipse, which is a heightened full moon. and it's also a supermoon. So again, heightening our emotional world, especially when we come to the insight of ourselves, the psyche, and then the human quality that is us, right? So because it is also coinciding with Mid-Autumn Festival, so that's why it's a nice emphasis there, and it will remind us whether we are on track as to the most meaningful things in our life, the most spiritual things. You can also say that, spirituality hopefully is perceived as the most meaningful aspect to life for most people. Okay, not all, but most people. And because we have that anchoring it down, and we have the full moon illuminating and heightening this energy, so it gives us that. If we're out of alignment, then of course this is when our emotions will be triggered, and it will be triggered by the events and happenings that is emotional based, right? And emotionally triggered, for example, right? And things like that. So this is where we can use the energy of the full moon to anchor us down, right? In what it is that we want to create, what we want to start to seed in the context of what we have seen as results so far. Okay, so and then of course the last part there just basically tells the same story, right? The moon is in the sign of Pisces, where Neptune is, and then it's also interacting nicely with Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, which is all about the final core changes that we're making and adjusting. Right, so that's why September, then leading, of course, we will keep October to October. When it comes, right, it's going to be the clash month of the year, which means that is when most, again, of the shifts and changes will take place, besides, of course, August itself. So the way I would simplify this, the timeline, right, is that from the official start of the Water Rooster month itself, which is happening this Saturday, September 7th, for about a week there. So use it as a follow-through to whatever that you've encountered in August. Whatever shifts, whatever movement, whatever instability that you are stabilizing, right? So use the first week to continue with this, but know that there is something different coming up, right? Especially after from the second week onwards. And so handle the changes and look at changes, of course, as opportunities. Look at obstacles and challenges as opportunities, and then figure out how to turn them around from the 14th onwards, right? As long as you're anchoring to your heart. Your heart has to be the key, because we have, again, Venus, the heart energy there, strongly supported in this evaluative sign of Libra, in the sun sign of Libra as well, right? So you don't always have that going on, but you have it coinciding with the timing of the season, with the planet in the right location to help you anchor down to your heart. So listen to it. And then with that, with the results that you see, because this is the results, here you are, this is how it's going. You get 6 months results, and you get interim scorecard, right? Interim report card saying that if you continue like this for the rest of period 9, you will have this type of thing. Do you like it? Are you happy with it? Is it not what you want, etc., etc.? Then use it to adjust and fine-tune with the clarity that the pure energies allow you for September. Then, of course, September 22nd is the start of Libra season, and it's the point of equinox, the autumn equinox. So from that period all the way up to the first week of October, ending the Water Rooster month. Okay, so then use this, of course, in a more proactive way, right? With all that you've seen, the results that you have analyzed and shown to you, and with an open heart, and with the clarity of thoughts, with the clarity of heart-based judgment, then use this mental power to start seeding manifestation, right? Ideas, plans, shifts of reality. What is it that you want to create? What is it that you don't want any more of, right? All of that, right? And you keep that energy and harness the mental power with the ability to draw in ideas, creativity, problem solving, so on and so forth, right? Of the month energy for you to start seeding something new, and within the context of, again, whatever that you've already done. If you're already initiated on major changes, if you have not, then of course, with the major change that happened maybe in August, then you can, of course, now to start to seed completely new ideas that's also going to fit into it. So remember, action, what can we do, right? So it is less of like go out there and do things sort of a thing, which is more suitable overall for the beginning of the year, right? It is more an inward action. It is related to embracing changes, embracing what needs to be changed, right? What has changed, and there's no longer any real reason to hold on to things that this sort of way, right? To work with acceptance. And then, of course, you can use the energies to fine tune and adjust, and more importantly, right, harness mental power as long as you have the clarity towards using the energy so that you can start to seed manifestation. Okay. Quick hello to Nancy, to Mabel as well, and also to Ann Ang, right? Thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, if you just joined, if you can help and like and share, that would be great. Okay. So now I also want to take this opportunity to talk about the Cosmic Trinity in the sense that now we know that many of you following us are used to astrology. You're either a fan of it, you're a practitioner, or you have become an enthusiast, right? Whether or not you originally started with us or some other schools and Sifu and so on, right? And we are, like me, 15, 20 years ago, I already fell in love with Chinese metaphysics. So I've been using astrology and Bazi for all that time, right, up to today. And then, of course, Feng Shui is using what is the reality and assessing it to read, right? So that's why it falls under physiognomy. It's related to also face reading, because while we look at landforms to read Feng Shui, then we look at the forms of the face to read faith, right? But it tells us a story based on what we see, based on the reality that is of current. And then when we understand how the predetermined energies that's based on karma, that's based on previous lives and so on and so forth, right? Through, for example, a tool like astrology, Bazi, and Ziwei, and so on. And then we are able to understand what is the reality now. Then, of course, the most important thing, as we already know, as Chinese metaphysicians or followers, fans, students, etc., the most important part is actually in our action, the human part, right? Right at the end there. Because if we don't, we will always get an interaction between so-called what is already predestined and then what is the reality, right? And that is how life was in the old days, where we don't have much leeway, we don't have any initiative, and we are also programmed by the government and by the emperor, for example, right, to just do what we're supposed to do. But now empowerment becomes a much bigger ideal, and it's not just an ideal, it's where we are actually really, as human beings, we have the power to decide on what we want to do with our lives, right? So that's why the humankind part, mankind part, womankind part, whatever you want to call it, the third part of the Cosmic Trinity is really the key, and we've always known this. But with period 9, it becomes even more so, right? Whatever it is that you want to crack yourself up, it's not just about changing your mindset, taking the action to go towards a different path and so on, but it's also now very important for us to physically work on elevating our personal energy, right? And there are many ways to do this. And like I was saying, if you ask me 5 years ago even, right, even 3 years ago, I wouldn't be so excited about it, but somehow, of course, maybe period 9 is here and the timing is now all clicking in together, right? We need to take the power into our hands to go beyond just taking the right action and changing our mindsets. We need to actually do the work. And the inner work that we do will also make a tremendous difference to our personal vibration, because everything here is a vibration. Heaven luck is a vibration, right, of our predestined karma, for example. Earth luck, whatever reality that we see, is a vibration, because that's matter, right? Our physical body, the mountains, the rivers, and so on is all vibrating as matter that we can see. But there's also a lot of vibrations that we can't see, for example. And then even our own physical body is consisting of a physical vibration, right? And then even a subtle body vibration, which is basically, for example, the chakra energy that is extending beyond just our physical body, right? So that's why when we work with this, and we work with even emphasizing, right, how to understand better so that we can have better control over it, we can have better power over our own personal vibration, is really, really key. So that's why from last year, you see us moving more and more into sound healing, right? Championed by Jesse, and then somehow we're all linked to this, and then it's something very, very powerful, right? Receiving sound healing and the vibrations that way, but it is passive, because we're just, if you go to a normal sound healing session, not as a practitioner, you just be lying there receiving this vibration that is flowing through your body, right? But what we want to really champion now is your own work in flowing and in enhancing and in working with your energy flow. So that is where we are right now. And that's why for myself, I'm very excited to work with the voice, right? And I see it all clicking in together. And that's why I am now also offering not just an online workshop on how to use the voice, but also now on how to basically harness and train. Because with the voice and with, in fact, with breathwork and all that, we actually need to do it sufficiently enough. We need to do the practice so that we can actually be better in tune with what we want to do, right? So besides my own, of course, vocal coaching program, which if you've been following my page, you would have seen. So now I want to also invite back Joston to share with us all about energy elevation, especially using certain forms of inner work. And I was a transformed person, right, when Joseph introduced to us now you call it what? Huh?
Hypno breathwork.
Hypno breathwork.
Yes.
Right? It started out being called something else, but
Transformational breathwork.
Transformational breathwork, and now it's what's called hypno breathwork, and it's such a powerful practice. Those of you who have undergone it, you will know what I mean, right? And again, it's one of those where the timing is just there. I didn't know what to expect when he introduced it to us, and then when I did it, I was like, why am I in tears and sobbing uncontrollably, right? When I, as a man in my age and all that, I tear and I cry, but I don't sob, right? Until I did my first session on transformational breathwork. Right? So energy elevation, the work that we can do to enhance our personal vibration, that is really, really the key if you want to match the frequency, the high frequency fast vibrations of period 9.
That's right.
Which is where all the magic is. So the magic is all out there, right? The timing is right for us to harness it. But if our own personal energy is not up to par, then of course we have much less access to it.
All right. Speaking of energy, let me just go on to highlight a little bit about human energy field. But before I go into a little bit details about human energy field, so basically, like Gong Yu also have shared it earlier, right? Everything is energy. Everything is energy. That's all there is to it. All right. So when they talk about energy also, like we also know for a fact that if we are vibrating at a higher level of energy, in general, you'll be attracting more higher level of things. This is like on the principles of law of attractions. You'll be going attracting more in life as well. Hence, the importance of doing energy work as well. Now, energy work is all about taking the actions and to doing different things to get ourselves into a higher vibrational level. Now, if you look into human energy field, it's also known as our aura or biofield, which is an invisible energy surrounding the human body. So your energy field is equal to your movement of energy in terms of your mind, body, and also soul. So do you all know that, for example, what is this invisible energy? Have you come across sometimes when you go inside a meeting rooms? So when you go inside the meeting room, suddenly you just sense that, the energies of, there could be some kind of argument before this and so forth. Now, that is also how our energy works. And in this aura, energy field, which it can be in a sense of it could be 1 feet all the way to many feet away, that kind of energy field. This energy field able to detect the vibrations of a lower energy that happened earlier on. There could be some kind of argument happen then. Then somehow rather than you also kind of keep quiet, don't want to interfere or don't want to do anything about it just yet. No, that's the one example of this energy field. Or even when you sometimes walk to the shopping mall, suddenly you just feel the hunch of looking back. When you look back, then you kind of see your friend and then you say hi and so on. Same thing is because of your energy field come across to the other person energy field, and you're able to detect that because that energy field of your friend, it could be some energy field that you're familiar with. Hence, you get to see, maybe there's someone that is behind me that I kind of know. So that's how we name it, the human energy field. Now, the purpose also of this energy field is really to interact with all other energy, and this energy field is reacting and interacting with everything, like I say, earth, people, workplace, or even your internal world. Because energy work is all about body, mind, and soul in terms of the internal world itself. And to talk about energy also, everything is energy in the fact that the table that we are resting our hand on, a chair that we're sitting on, every single thing is also energy. The atom is constantly vibrating in a certain frequency. Even our energy is also vibrating at a certain frequency as well.
Yeah.
So you can see here, towards on the top of me, right? This is an example of a typical like a human inside it, and then this vibrations energy that surround us, right? So if we are always in a constant state of stress, worry, fear, or anything that is more towards the negative emotions, then you can see that the energy field inside is not so wholesome. You can see a little bit of like over here, like a bit of crack here, there's an empty hole and so forth, okay? However, if you look into on top of Kong Yu, which is like, this is a typical good energy field. And this energy field is where you are elevated when you have a lot more things like gratitude in life, love, compassion, or feeling of wholeness. Now, so these are the feeling that causes us, anyone, to have a better energy field, to get the concept of what is a not so good energy field and what is considered a better energy field. Now, so everything is energy, and that's all that it is. So what we want to do in our life, in our day-to-day, is about matching the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but to get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not a philosophy, but this is a physics, and physics support us. If you want to get something in life, it's not about thinking about it, but instead taking the actions and being that person. And once you be that person, you're going to vibrate the kind of energy and going to be attracting back the things that you want in life. Okay?
That's the thing. That's the core of the law of attraction, which we heard about, which I got very excited about when I first heard about it, like 15 years ago or something, right? There's this big, book that was written out of it. And then it always sounds like it's such a wonderful idea, but when we don't really understand it, we don't know how to use it. We're basically saying that when our vibration is not up to par, okay? So it's then we don't get it.
Yeah, we didn't have that wisdom back then when we are younger.
Yeah, right. So when our vibration is not up to par, then we will be out of alignment with the reality that we want. Right. So that's why the magic of period 9 is where there is a lot more opportunity to get to those portals, the connections, to everything. The portals are all open. But again, it's back to the core of our work, which is basically our own personal vibration. And where is it compared to where is it that you want to be at?
That's right. So everything that we do, in fact, is all about energy work. If you talk about feng shui, it's about energy work of the environment.
That's right.
Right. If you talk about us as a human, we are also doing day-to-day energy work to bring up our vibrations so that our body, mind, and souls are being more aligned and be able to achieve the things that we want in life. Okay. Now, let's look into like a typical emotional vibration charts, right? If you can see from a Kong side or so, you can see like this is like a typical like a chakra colors as well, Anything is on the lower bottom side of the things, right? You can see things like fear, grief, guilt. Those are the things that causes ones to vibrate at a lower level. And in comparison, if you look into things that you are like, say, gratefulness, peace, joy, happiness, now those are the things that, on the higher level. So what we want to achieve in life. So basically, to get more of the higher level emotional vibrations, and hence we reach the higher vibrations frequency to be sent out to the universe out there.
And then also, because this is literally the rainbow, the chakra itself, right? Of which is the basis of enlightenment overall. So it is also our duty and our own work as well to transmute these energies, right? So normally you say these heavy, denser energies are negative, but all it needs to do is basically we need to heal this and we need to transmute them. Because, for example, fear, we just have to transmute it to confidence, for example, guilt, shame, right? All the issues related to the sacral chakra and the what do you call it, the solar plexus chakra. Again, it just needs healing, it just needs work, our own personal work, and then we transmute the same so-called heavy energies to its positive equivalent. Right, and naturally, of course, by following the cycle is where we also have the manifestation cycle take place also. Right, so that's why it's very powerful to also understand this from this perspective.
Yeah, and even from that perspective also, does it mean that from now on we shouldn't have the feelings of guilt, sad, or fear? In fact, no. It's all these are valid emotions that's gonna bound to happen and in our day-to-day life. But what we want to do now is really about how one's able to manage that kind of emotions, right? Of course, when you want to manage it, then you try to, overcome your sadness, try to overcome your anger and so forth, so that you bring yourself into more joyful, more happiness level. And even as the feelings of the emotion that are good also, it doesn't mean that in 24/7 you'll be able to constantly feel joyful the whole time. But if you were to do that and you were to get that, you know, you have to let me know, you know, how to go about getting that. Either you're high with drugs or I don't know whether there's a magical pill out there that, you know, can be able to sustain that. So as a human also, our energy is constantly vibrating, sometimes on the high side, low side, but what we want to achieve here is really more to be having more the positive side of things, more on the higher vibrational, emotional chart energy.
And of course, ideally, of course, to do it within our own personal energy field, right? Even though occasionally, you know, for whatever, there is a external that is helpful in the short term, right? In terms of helping us through things and so on. Even egoic achievements, so to speak, are short-term confidence boosters. Right? But if we rely too much on them, winning little things, for example, medals, prizes, and so on, achieving and meeting our target and breaking it for the next year and the consecutive years later, these are all external achievements that can boost our confidence, but they are ego-based. So again, best to rely on internal ways of actually transmuting the negative energies or feelings to the positive ones.
Okay. Now, speaking of energy, I would like, since we are talking so much about energy also, and we have been talking about, you know, the September month is a good month for us to start seedings or manifestations, all right? So I would like to also highlight about this Saturday, there is a workshop that's coming out, which is the Inner Wealth, Outer Abundance. No, from the title also, you can see that it's all about inner wealth. What is inner wealth? It's about working on ourselves, right? Once you are able to work on yourself, as highlighted earlier, that is something that, you know, exert out, and eventually you get that outer abundance as well. In this workshop, it's going to happen on this Saturday, 7th of September. It's from 2 o'clock to 5 p.m. via Zoom, online sessions. And this workshop itself is basically to actually bring us to revisit, you know, what we really want in life, you know, go back to things that is about mindfulness, having some tools and tricks, you know, that we can master so that we are able to and any time to bring and elevate our state to a more resourceful state. Like I mentioned earlier, whenever moments surface anger, yes, possibly you could be putting 3-minute sessions, you know, for me to feel it, to reflect on my anger. Then at the same time, we have to bring ourselves back to a resourceful state so that we don't stuck in that anger emotion the whole time. So this workshop is really also a workshop that I'm going to teach about different tricks. In fact, we're going to do things like emotional freedom techniques, powerful techniques that help us to address issues on emotions and anything that's not serving us. So these are things that we do. Then there will be a lot of things on breath work, ginseng jutsu, and I'll be doing guided meditations as well, and doing a little bit of breath work also. Again, with the whole entire objective is to bring our vibrations up and also to find the energy in us, you know, to keep us going, to continue to go into our day-to-day journey itself. Right. So that is the key thing is about all bringing us to a higher level, vibrational level. And once we are able to work our inner self, working on our inner wellness, eventually everything will become abundance for us as well.
Yeah. So again, part of our personal practice package, right? So emotional awareness, you'll be able to control, be aware, and then after be able to shift those, transmute those, and then beside that, the physical based practices with breath work and so on, so that we work on elevating our personal energy through those transformative exercises. So Jocelyn is helming this. This is coming up already this Saturday.
Yes.
It's only 3 hours, so if you can afford, which I'm sure you can, your Saturday 3 hours to this practices, again, very important for period 9. If you want to really work on being in control of your emotions, mastering them, and then also your vibration and elevating your personal vibration.
That's right. So moving on, the next one, this is another baby that is coming up in 5th and 6th of October. And this is actually a 2 days masterclass. I call it Quantum Energy Masterclass. It's all about mastering your energy and to manifest your dream life itself. The venue is going to be at our Soleil Trinity studio. And same thing, both days also is from 10 to 5 o'clock. Now, what is so special about this energy work? We have been talking about, elevating our energies and so on. And this is really, in order to elevate our energy, like Kong Yu just said earlier, you don't just go to your typical sound session itself, just sit there, lie down, take all the good energy, go back, and then back to square one again. So that's why in the principle of our business itself also, we always instill into one's taking their actions and also giving them the tools for them to practice it at home. Even we talk about sound healing itself, besides you coming to our studio to enjoy the sound sessions, because we have a lot more tools, but at the same time, we also encourage one, to bring back a singing bowl so that they can do their own self-practice at home as well. Now, but however, on this Quantum Energy Masterclass, basically there is 3 key things that I'm gonna cover. One thing is that the key thing is about Kundalini Reiki. Now, Kundalini Reiki is actually a very powerful energy work that we're going to learn to tap into the universe energy, where once we're able to tap into this universe energy, it's going to be so powerful that we're able to do self-healing work, and at the same time, we'll be able to do healing work for others as well. Now, in terms of even doing the healing work for others, it can be so powerful, so much so that not only this person physically next to you, only that you can do the healing power. In fact, you can also do healing power via distance healing work as well. Okay, that's one part of it. And other than that also, as you also know, I'm also practicing on hypnosis. Hence, I'm also going to introduce on self-hypnosis. And this again, go back to self-hypnosis. Why self-hypnosis and not hypnosis? Is because of self-hypnosis, as the word self is about you doing that hypnosis work itself. So I'm going to teach the techniques, the tools and manner for ones to actually able to fall into hypnotic level. And once you are falling into the hypnotic state, that is the moment where you yourself going to empower yourself to suggesting all the positive suggestions to your subconscious mind. And by doing that, this is the time where we are able to overcome things like procrastinations, or why am I always low in energy and anything that you want to work on. That's how we tap into our subconscious mind to work on the a typical few different things in our life as well. And last but not least, I also want to introduce things that's called medical qigong. Now, medical qigong is very powerful, which is also a practice of movement, where we're gonna how to activate our qi in terms of our energy inside us, and how to tap into the universal energy as well. To work into circulations of energy is also to work on our healing work itself as well. And one thing I want to point out about all these modalities that we're gonna share is that I also believe that come to this period of time or so, a lot of time people could be busy with different things and so on. But so one of the great thing about what I'm gonna teach during this energy masterclass or so is to provide the tools that, in fact, if you were to do your energy healing works right, it practically takes about 5-10 minutes. So basically that's it, because we believe that the energy work itself, right, once you were to channel that energy healing into your body for 5 minutes, eventually that few hours, right, that energy wave is gonna still circulate in your body and gonna flow to wherever that require healing, or wherever that require any blockages, right, it will automatically be able to flow over there. All right. So even come to medical qigong also, I also have this misconception. Whenever we do qigong, it will be 1 hour, 2 hours of our time daily being put into practicing this. The good things also with this medical qigong that I'm going to teach also, you're not going to put about an hour or so of your time daily. In fact, about half an hour will be the ideal time for us to look at it. And even there are times that we might not be able to allocate that half an hour. Possibly you can move into like a 15-20 minutes, and yet you can still get the benefits of it. Now, these are the few things of the key modalities, and there will be a few more sub things that I'm going to do about how one's able to detect energies. And also there will be things like dowsing rod, how I'm going to use dowsing rod, how we're going to use pendulum, right, to check on one's whether any chakra is being blocked, any area of pains and so forth. All these things is going to be covered during that masterclass itself.
Yeah.
All right.
So lots of goodies there. It's basically you get the basic tools will be given a practitioner of how to harness energy, how to harness it, how to basically direct it for your own personal healing and so on, which is actually very, very exciting when you talk about how to harness energy and where to basically use your own mind power as well, led by your mind power as to which areas of the body that you need to heal, right? So I'm very much excited about this type of work as well.
Yes.
The Qigong, medical Qigong stuff that Joston had brought up, and then also overall just breath work, right? And using the breath to actually heal ourselves and to flow, right? Which is of course one of the basics of some practices, yogic practices and things like that. So, and I'm also very excited to finally put it all together when it comes to our own personal energy and vibrating and harnessing and attuning our most personal vibration of all, which is basically our individual voices. Right, so you and me, Joston, we all have different voices. And did you know that the voice itself is the most powerful of your personal vibration that you exude? Because the rest of it, we're not so cognizant of it, and it's not so clear cut, right? What we do with our hands, our actions, and all that, what we do that is basically an extension of our feet, our legs, and hands, which is the work that we do from day to day, right? But the way that the world has transmuted that energy is in the modern things that we do, the reports that we write, the things that we calculate, right, and so on, right? But in this session, for example, this Facebook Live sharing, right, I'm directly exuding my vocal vibration towards you, right? It's transmitting through the FB Live waves and all that, and the message is getting across. So that's why this is very direct compared to if you look at energy being used to create the world based on the work that we do individually. It is, it is not as direct as this presentation and this voice that you're hearing and the vibrations that you can feel from the transmission of this communication to you. So that's why when we are able to harness this in a way that we are cognizant on how we use our personal voices, and then of course on the technical side, on how open our voices are, how much energy is being transmitted, how much flow is enabled, because it is also tied in a lot to breathing, breath work. It's also tied into how we vocalize. So that's why there's so much goodies in there. I'm so excited, right, to be able to share the techniques of vocalization, the basics of opening up our voices, and then also what I've discovered of late in the recent years, how to harness energy flow using our breath and using our voices, right? So if you would like to have personal coaching sessions, right? So I've launched my vocal coaching package. It's not to train you to be a speaker per se. It's not to train you to be a singer per se, but it's all together, right? So when we work on everything to do with opening up our voices and importantly be able to connect to our chakras and use that also to be able to heal the chakras step by step, stage by stage, we're also putting it all together. So at the end of the day, you will benefit from all of that. Vocal clarity, articulation, energy with communication, persuasion skills, you name it, right? Selling skills, your ability to present better, and also your ability to even sing, right? All of it together when we start to work on our voices, especially when we activate and open up our vocal energy, right? So if you're interested in it, it's a series of 4 1-hour sessions, and then it's personalized, so it will be based on what you need and where you start, and then we will take it from there, right? So if you're interested, this is direct arrangement through with us at Solil Trinity, so you can either WhatsApp our usual number if you're used to us. If not, then that is the WhatsApp for WhatsApp this number, which is our ST general number, and then Nicole has also nicely created a quick QR that you can scan that you hook you into our WhatsApp.
Now,
right?
side note, if you have always like Kong Yu voice, how deep he can be and how high he can be, all those things, now this is the moment for you to learn some secret from him, how to really access your vocal energy. He will be a best coach for you on that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just very excited about it because, I didn't have the purpose in mind when I started in this field. And a lot of what I've done throughout my adult working life involves me speaking. So, and I never knew the real purpose until now. Right? So that's why I'm so excited to share all of what I've learned from 25 years ago, ever since I started using my voice professionally.
25 years, wow.
Yeah, right. It's been so long, right? And I'm that old. So yeah, if you're interested, just shoot us a WhatsApp. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Joston, for coming in to share. And I would really encourage you, and I'll put you on the line here, live in front of everyone.
Ah.
I want to encourage, and been meaning to tell him already to do Facebook Live.
Yes.
To share his knowledge and to share his techniques. So you will do that, right?
Yes, of course.
Yes, right. So hopefully we'll see that very, very soon. So tune in to Joston's page and all our pages. We'll cross-share everything as well. But in the meantime, thanks so much.
All right, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for joining us live. The whatever numbers that are there, all the way up to the 40s, 40 people who are live with us. At some point, it really is helpful when you're live supporting us energetically. Those of you watching this post live, I hope you're able to check out all the personal energy inner work that we have been really championing ever since, especially the turn of period 9.
Yes.
Since this year, and it's been a very interesting journey. Still lots of work to be done. But I really try to encourage you. We really try to encourage you to look into these practices more, devote time, take some time out for them. Those of you who have, for example, embraced breathwork now, right? Try to really look into embracing your voice, because I still get, I can sense and I know that the different reactions from different people that we know, students that we have, students that we love, that, between those who are really ready to jump in and tap into the power of their voices, and those who are still like, okay, not sure. And then, of course, there are those who are also not liking the sound of their own voices. So that itself is a big signal for you to look into from the inner work that you need to do, right? So I just leave you with that thought. But thanks for joining us for this session. And so until the next round and until Joston's Facebook Live, where he'll be sharing with you information on the topics that he's championing. Right?
Till then.
Till then.
Bye. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.